Hello everyone. So as you remember, the next group in terms of the evolution of plants is the seedless vascular plants, and that's what we will focus on in this video. So at the beginning we are going to discuss what are the characters gained by having vascular tissues, and then we will move on to focus on the seedless vascular plants, which is exemplified by the ferns. So seedless vascular plants, which is this group, as you can see, it followed the first group, which is the non-vascular plants in evolution. So the non-vascular plants, they are called bryophytes, and then they have no vascular tissues, and the next step in evolution was the development of vascular tissues, and the first group was seedless vascular plants. So what are the characteristics of vascular plants in general? And by saying vascular plants, we mean the other three groups of plants. So vascular plants are characterized by a life cycle that in which the sporophytes are the dominant stage, and that is one characteristic between the vascular plants and the non-vascular plants. If you remember here, the bryophytes, so the dominant stage was the gametophyte, but all the three other vascular plants, the sporophytes is going to be the dominant stage. They have vascular tissues, in other words, xylem and phloem, and they help in the transport of nutrients, water, and glucose and photosynthetic products up and down. So they have evolved a transport system that is exemplified by roots and leaves, and because of that they can grow much taller and bigger than the non-vascular plants because they have dedicated transport system. One thing to note is that in the seedless vascular plants, as we said, represented by the ferns, they still have flagellated sperms, and because of that they are usually restricted to moist environments. They need water for fertilization. So let's move on to the life cycle of seedless vascular plants. So as we said, the sporophyte is the dominant stage. It is the green structure that we see, and it is the one that is doing the photosynthesis. Sporophytes are diploid structure, or diploid stage, because it is formed by the formation of two zygotes, and under the underside, the leaf, on the lower side we see the sporangium. So these are the organs in which the spores are going to be formed, and here we are zooming in to one of these sporangium, and by meiosis the 2n is going to be reduced. The chromosome number 2n is going to be a haploid structure, which is the spore. Again, as we said before in the mosses, the opening of this sporangium and the dispersal of the spores is going to happen in the dry conditions, where the wind will help in this dispersal. So the spore will mature and give us the gametophyte. One thing to highlight here is that we have what is called as homospore. So both the antheridium and the archegonium, the male and the female organs, are carried within the same gametophyte. So it's not two separate plants as we have seen before in the mosses. No, here both of them, they are on the same gametophyte. So antheridium will give the sperms, archegonium will give the eggs. Again, the fertilization needs water, as you can see here, because it is surrounded with this drop of water, and that because it depends on flagellated sperms. And once the fertilization happens inside the archegonium, we are going to have the zygote. Now we moved back to the diploid stage, or the diploid state. So now we have 2N, and this zygote is going to grow to give us the sporophyte, and the cycle will continue. So in this slide, we are going to highlight the transport in the xylem and phloem, which is a characteristic of the vascular plants. So we have two types of vascular tissues, as you can see in this image. The first is the xylem, the second is the phloem. So xylem conducts mostly the water and mineral transport, and it includes dead cells called the tracheids. So as you can see here, the xylem, it is mainly for water and mineral transport, and it is including dead cells called the tracheids. So we can see them here, so they are part of the xylem. And the second type of transport vessels is the phloem. So in contrast to the xylem, phloem is composed of living cells, and these mainly distribute food. So we mean sugars, amino acids, other organic products of photosynthesis. They will be transported through the phloem. And we can see also that the water conducting cells are strengthened by lignin, as you can see here. So the lengthening by this lignin adds structural support, which is needed for the vascular plants, and that's why the vascular plants are capable of growing taller than the non-vascular plants. So we said that lead also to the development of specialized organs, the roots and the leaves. So the roots, they anchor the vascular plants, and as well as they help in the absorption of water and nutrients. And that is one difference between a true root and rhizoid, which we discussed in the mosses. Then leaves, as you know, it increases the surface area, and it is the main part for conducting photosynthesis. So in summary, to summarize the seedless vascular plants, the ferns, for example, so how they adapted to extreme temperature changes by the formation of spores with thickened walls with sporopollenin, how they adapted to segregation of light, water, and nutrients. Now they have specialized organs, roots, leaves, and they have vascular tissues for transport of the water and nutrients, and how they dealt with evaporation, because now they are covered with waxy cuticle, and they have the stomata opening on the underside of the leaf, which controls the opening and the exchange of the gases. How they dealt with reproduction under dry conditions like what we have in land. Still they need water, and that's because of the flagellated sperms, and because of that we usually see the seedless vascular plants in humid environment near water, because they need it for their reproduction. And how they dealt with the lack of physical support. They now have a lignin in their vascular tissues, which adds this kind of physical support, allowing them to grow in the upright position, and in many cases we see longer plants than that we saw in the non-vascular plants. If we will classify the seedless vascular plants, we will see that we have two main phyla. First, the Lycophyta. This include club mosses, spike mosses, and quill worts. So please keep in mind that these are not the true mosses, because mosses belong to the non-vascular plants. Then we have another phylum called Pterophyta. This includes ferns, horsetails, and whisk ferns and their relatives. And by this slide we came to the end of this video, in which we covered the seedless vascular plants. Thank you.